ahead with power structure across the Tennessee Valley. Today, we welcome to BLT, Tennessee Department of Corrections Commissioner Tony Parker as our guest. As Tennessee has combated this ever-spreading COVID pandemic over the last year, Commissioner Parker has led the charge to mitigate and contain the spread of the virus throughout the correctional institutions in the state. He's been a leader in criminal justice reform, which has not been an easy task during this last year. But he did it. And locally, we did it at our jail as well, to keep the number of deaths down and to mitigate this virus. It's been said by Nelson Mandela in a quote that no one really truly knows a nation until it's been inside its jails. A nation should not be judged on how it treats its high citizens, but how it treats its lowest ones. So today with Commissioner Parker, he was one of the youngest wardens in the state of Tennessee's history for Department of Corrections. He's had 37 years in corrections as a career. He was appointed by Governor Bill Haslam in 2016 to head up that department. He is president of the American Correctional Association, and he's the first Tennessee Department of Corrections commissioner to hold that title. He's got an associate degree from Dyersburg State Community College in criminal justice, a BS in criminal justice from UT Martin, and an MA in security studies from the prestigious postgraduate school in Monterey, California. So we want to welcome Commissioner Parker. A lot has happened since the last time I saw you. I think Sheriff Myers and I submitted our plan of action to the TCI board, and that seems not very long ago, but it's in terms of pandemics, it's I guess a short time. So a lot has been happening since then, both within your department and from the Governor's Criminal Justice Task Force. And of course, COVID has been one of our biggest challenges, so we welcome you today.
Well, thank you for having me. You know, the last time I was in McMinnville, I think it was July of 2019, I was there and had the privilege to speak at the Rotary Club and had one of the best meals. Man, I tell you, an old boy from West Tennessee remembers those good meals, and that was just a great meal and great fellowship, and I enjoyed being with you all. But absolutely, you know, the last year, hasn't it been a challenge? I mean, I was just speaking to a group earlier this morning when about this time last year when reality set in with me and the full recognition of, you know, life as we have known it is fixing to change big time in the Department of Corrections. And when we look at, you know, sending employees home and working from home and then just all the challenges that we find ourselves faced with dealing with the incarcerated population. But I'm proud of Tennessee. I tell people all the time, I'm so blessed to live in a state like Tennessee that has the coordination and the cooperation across state lines, state and local government. You know, I give a shout out to the law enforcement there, local law enforcement there, and the great job that they have done. But you're absolutely right. It has been a most difficult challenge over the last year.
So in mitigating this virus across all the correctional institutions, you know, how did that plan play out? And moving forward, what do you see us doing down the road to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Well, you know, pandemic like COVID-19, I don't know that there's a lot that any one individual or any group could do to prevent such from coming to our front door. Certainly in this case, you know, our hands were tied to a big extent as a nation. But I'll say this, the Department of Corrections, we were blessed to, we've been accredited by the American Correctional Association for years, almost 30 years. So we had pandemic plans in place. We had sanitation protocols in place. But even at that, it was a challenge. You know, just the mere fact that this virus was easily spread inside a correctional environment was a challenge in itself. But for all the protocols and safety measures that we did have in place, what we found is that most of our inmate population were asymptomatic. We had a lot of positive cases, But Tennessee, under the leadership of Governor Bill Lee, we were pretty aggressive in the method we use for testing people in our facilities. So we did more than 3 or 4 mass testings of everybody in our system. That allowed us to appropriately quarantine and isolate people, and then work with the staff, to educate staff and inmates on safety protocols, things like that. And then just recently, I saw some numbers this morning where we had begun the vaccination process for our staff members, and I think we've vaccinated almost close to 2,000 people who work in our facilities. The next phase will be vaccinating the inmate population in the appropriate phase. So as we continue to move forward, we're thankful. Right now, I think we have close to 20 active cases out of all inmate population in our system. So that's very good. Unfortunately, we have lost about 41 or 42 inmates to the virus, but that's certainly although it's not a good number, let me make sure I'm clear on that. It's better than some states that I've seen that have lost hundreds and hundreds of people to the virus.
Well, I know it's been a team effort from the governor all the way down to local elected officials, and our sheriff and his staff did a remarkable job in order to contain the virus. And we didn't have any serious threats. We had a few episodes, but we did what we had to do, and it showed. The results were there. So I know one of the things that I wanted to discuss with you, I know the governor, as well as myself and you, and our sheriff, are really pushing for criminal justice reform. And I know the governor put together a task force. I did as well here locally. He came up with strategic plans moving forward with the state of Tennessee, and with the United States just having maybe 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the prison population is in the United States. I know the governor wants to be tough on crime, but smarter on how we deal with it. And I know he wants to think about, who's going to jail, how we can divert that process, and then how do we re-enter people back into the life and into the workforce again. And I know the numbers have risen over the year on the number of incarcerated, but I'd like for you to discuss a little bit about the ideas of criminal justice reform and what's going to come from the state and what's going to come from the Department of Corrections as we move forward.
Well, thank you, Jimmy, for that question. And let me just say that, you're exactly right. The governor is very, very adamant that we be, he believes in the rule of law, and he believes in holding people accountable. Violent criminals need to be in a jail cell where they do not harm the public. But in all cases, we have to consider that 95% of the people that are incarcerated are going to return to the communities that we all live in each and every day. We also need to think about, in my opinion, from a taxpayer standpoint, what is the cost of incarceration and what's the return on investment? What are we seeing? Well, we know that to put somebody in a prison cell in Tennessee today, it costs approximately $80. Now that's a huge cost. And the cost really depends on what the person brings with them. If if they have major health issues and all, the cost could run up to $150, $200 a day. Now, at the end of the day, that's a pretty expensive proposition. But it's necessary in some cases for the violent criminals. I would say this, in the supervision of people in the community, we run about $3 to $4 a day. Big difference, $80 versus $4 for people on probation or parole supervision. And my point is, the Department of Corrections in the state of Tennessee today, we use a validated risk and needs assessment tool that tells us what's the risk of an individual reoffending, and what are the specific needs, what are the specific programs based on the needs of that person that we can put someone in classes and treatment programs that reduces that risk to recidivate. If we can do that, and use a real evidence-based approach in how we deliver programs. At the end of the day, we make Tennessee a safer place because we reduce crime, we reduce recidivism. Now, you're not always going to get it right. You're always going to have, from time to time, people are going to mess up. They're going to violate the law. But we know, based on research from other states as well as best practices here in Tennessee, that it matters what programs they get and what type of supervision they're under, whether that be in a correctional facility or in the community. For that low-risk offender, for that drug offender that is a nonviolent drug offender, we really, in my opinion, need to look at what are the options that might be available through treatment and proper supervision in the community versus at $4 a day versus sending them to a prison cell at $80 a day. We've opened 6 day reporting centers across the state. That is a true alternative to incarceration that allows the courts to defer somebody to this intensive drug treatment program under the supervision of a probation officer with the Department of Corrections at about $30 to $40 a day versus sending them to a prison bed at $80 a day. Now, I know in the governor's recommended budget and his package for possible legislation, they've added funding for some additional day reporting centers. We want to look at that. I think it's a model that works. I think it's a model that keeps Tennessee safer. And at the end of the day, it's about being tough on crime, as the governor says, but also being smart on crime. Making sure that we have the right offenders in the right place, right? Whether that be in a correctional facility or in the community taking supervision under the right supervision standards based on the risk of that individual. That's the key being successful, in my opinion, Jim.
And, I'm very pleased that the governor has taken this stand. One of the things that I'm passionate about also is criminal justice reform. As a career teacher most of my life, and then assuming this job as county executive, county mayor, I saw firsthand what going to jail does to my former students' lives and how it affects them in a generational way. And just going to the jail and touring the jail, it has a tendency, just like I know the governor has worked in jail ministry as well, it tugs at your heartstrings. And you feel like you need to do something to help these people because they're helpless, they're hapless, and they're hopeless at that particular point. And that was one of my quests being elected to this office, and with the new sheriff coming in, to put together some plans that would change the way we do business at our jail. And it has been a remarkable story in 2 years to take a jail that was ready to be, well, it was. We had no certification. We were afraid we were going to be closed. We had 350 plus people in a jail built for 251 with more than 120 people sleeping in the floor every night. And we've turned that around almost completely to be fully certified now with programs in place and a complete reversal in the course that we had been taking. So it's been a huge story. And if you don't care, I would like to invite Major Walker to the podium to talk a little bit about some of our successes and some of the things that we've got going at our jail, because I think it's a great story for our listeners to hear. And I think you already know this story because when we submitted our progress, our plan of action was removed, and Bob Bass and his team worked exceptionally in order to help us through this process. But we've got a lot of things to be celebrating here in Warren County. So I'm going to invite Jason to the podium just to give a little update on some of our programs and what we've done at the jail.
Thank you, Executive Haley. Thank you for being here, Commissioner Parker. I'm Major Walker with the Warren County Sheriff's Department. Whenever the sheriff took office, like County Executive Haley said, the jail was in rough shape. In 2012, the jail was put on a plan of action by the Tennessee Corrections Institute, TCI. What a plan of action is when a facility is unable to meet the minimum standards during their annual inspection, it's put on a plan of action. This allows the correctional facility to maintain certification status after failing to meet these standards. And also it shows to the Board of Controls about the facility is making measurable progress to resolve these situations. In 2019, work began to correct several of these problems in the jail. County Executive Haley and Sheriff Myers submitted a plan of action to TCI, and this included a jail scope of work. And on that list of the work to be done at the jail, there was over 60 items that needed to be corrected for us to get our certification. And we're happy to say all of those items have been put into place. There's one that is still getting worked on, that is the program area of the jail. But luckily, in December of 2020, this past December, the TCI Board of Control met, and Warren County received its certification. Also, the Board of Controls voted, and Warren County was taken off of the plan of action. We met all 427 standards that TCI put into place. With this, it was a lot of work by a lot of different people. It was a community effort. It wasn't just us at the Sheriff's Department. It was a whole community effort to do this. One thing, once we get this program space available, right now we've already started a Snap-on Tool program. It's been sponsored by TCAT. It started in the beginning of the winter. With that, we've had 36 enrolled in that program, and 24 have already graduated this program. Once we get the program space, our program director has already been looking at different programs to help with the reentry back into the neighborhoods whenever these inmates get out. Some of them include personal finance, AA meetings, NA, positive parenting, and TCAT is also sponsoring another class, a virtual welding class. We also already have the American Job Center in the jail to help with the job readiness program whenever people are getting out of jail. We're very hopeful that here in the next few weeks we'll actually have a mental counselor in the jail, and they're going to work on triaging mental health patients when they come into the jail. They're going to be a liaison with the mobile crisis. They're also going to put plans into place for people, anger management classes and different classes like that to try to help. We're very proud of the work that our corrections officer staff has done during the pandemic. Like County Executive Haley said, we had no deaths and very few cases of COVID-19 in the jail. It was difficult on the corrections officers. We had to put into place several new standards that they had to go by, and also kind of redo a lot of the way we did a lot of things. So we're definitely lucky with the staff that we have, that they were able to work hard and change their routine and keep most of the inmates safe out there. Thank you.
If I may, let me just congratulate you on that. That is just great work. I'm telling you, one thing I failed to mention earlier that's in the governor's budget, recommended budget, is the program that puts millions of dollars to local governments and local sheriffs that are utilizing evidence-based programs for their population. Currently, we pay $39 a day for those people that are held there in the local jails that are state offenders. But this new money, this legislation will allow counties like yourself to receive, a higher pay for those per diems for these people that you have in that jail that are receiving evidence-based programs that's going to be monitored through the Tennessee Corrections Institute. But what I've heard you talk about this morning just is phenomenal. I mean, this is really forward-thinking, and you've recognized, obviously, you all have recognized that providing these programs that are evidence-based, that teaches skills that allow people to address mental health issues, substance use issues, and find a meaningful job return people back to the communities that we live in, that their chances of recidivating is a lot less, and thus, at the end of the day, creates a safer environment for us to live in. That's the smart piece on the criminal justice side of the house that we've talked about, being tough and smart on crime. And I just congratulate you all for that work. That is huge, a huge step forward, and definitely will be the way going forward for the future.
Thank you, Commissioner Parker, and thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you.
So, Commissioner, we are proud of our success, and it was not easy, but as Major Walker said, it was a team effort. My Criminal Justice Task Force worked diligently with the judges and the DA and with the public defenders and prosecutors, with our drug recovery program, which we've expanded as well. The County Commission, after years of just kind of letting the jail sit there and not knowing what to do, they embraced our plan, helped to fund additional correctional officers, putting a counselor position in place for the budget, and for a build out for the program space. Right now we're using our TCAT trailer for our high-set GED program as well as our Snap-on tools. But we've already put the bids out and accepted a bid for the build out. So we are ready to roll on a program space. And our own Jackie Rackley, who got Jail Administrator of the Year, is now going to move over to Program Director at the jail. She did such a miraculous job as administrator there at the facility that she wants to invest in people. And that's what we're trying to do, is reinvest in people so they don't return. So we do reduce recidivism. So we do have, these programs in place, and reentry is extremely important to all of us because it rebuilds lives. It keeps people out of jail. It keeps people off welfare programs. And so we're working with workforce and Commissioner McCord also to help fund some of our operations. We did 3-star grants to put the Snap-on tools. So we have leveraged every resource that we possibly can on a local level. And as I joked with Governor Lee, I said, I can't wait on your criminal justice reform package to get delivered. We've got to roll up our sleeves and start on day one. And that's kind of what we did. We all joined together and figured out a plan and implemented it. And we're not looking back now. We're looking forward to what we're going to be doing next. So, we appreciate all the support from TCI, of course, and from your office. But it has been something to celebrate as a community. And I think we all see it and we all feel it. And we feel like we're kind of the model of a small rural community that didn't have a lot of resources, didn't have a lot in place already. And to turn around a jail in 2 years, I feel like is a success story that needs to be told. So thank you for all your efforts and support, Commissioner, because it's, like I said, it's been a labor of love for all of us.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. And Major, I just, again, when I was there in 19, I remember the conversation and the talk with the Rotary Club about taking communities and a community taking an aggressive approach to some of the social issues and some of the issues we have related to criminal justice reform at the local level, and how a community could work together to change their own community and why it matters. And what you've described this morning is exactly what you guys have done. And it's just, listen, it'll pay benefits for years to come. You'll see these benefits for years to come. And I just, again, congratulate you all on the work that's being done. And I know when you had that conversation with the governor, it made him smile, because I guarantee you what you've described is directly what he has been asking for and pushing for ever since he's been in office.
And he's been very complimentary of our accomplishments as well. But, in doing all of this and turning the jail around, instead of this movement to defund, we're putting funds in a smart way like the governor wanted us. And in return, we're restoring really respect for law enforcement and the efforts that they have, achieved over the last 2 years. Even the inmates in jail, they see it. It's a different atmosphere. It's a different climate. We use, positive reinforcement and behavioral modification within the jail, and it's paid off. The amount of vandalism has gone down, and the prisoners there, they respect what we're doing for them, and they appreciate it. And so we're expanding our trustees program for work on county buildings, and we're working, like I said, with workforce to get these programs in place so we can get jobs for them. So it's been a win-win for us. So once again, we thank you and the efforts. And Bob Bass has been a miracle worker with us. He's been right there with us down in the trenches. His whole staff has. So, as we start to wind up a little bit on our conversation here, as Commissioner of Corrections, what do you think your biggest challenge is? And as we start to wind down the governor's administration and in hopes of maybe 4 more years coming up for him as well, what are your goals as commissioner moving forward, and what are some of the challenges that you face?
Well, I certainly would say, Governor Lee is sitting here, and I would definitely count on 4 more years. I think he has been a great governor. I think he's exactly in tune with Tennessee. And, this criminal justice reform effort in using evidence-based practices to make our state safer is not an overnight solution. It's going to take years to do that. And we begin this, the Department of Corrections in Tennessee began this initiative several years ago. And, it takes a while to get people on board. It takes a while to get some of the decision makers on board across the state. We have to continue pushing forward with what we know is practices and programs that's based in research. Things that is based in research and is evidence-based, not my opinion, right? Not the commissioner's opinion or someone else's opinion, but things that we know that has worked based on empirical research that reduces recidivism. That's a pretty big task that takes years to accomplish. And my goal is going to be, and my challenge is to continue this work, continue pushing forward with ways to again be on crime but smart on crime. Look at people who we can supervise in a more effective, more efficient manner. If there's opportunities there, build programs to take advantage of that, to continue to support one another at the local level, at the state level, work together as for the common good of Tennessee, and support one another. Our corrections officers have a tough job. On the best of days, their job is most difficult. I think we have to work to help inform the public about the true mission of corrections and why the things we've talked about here this morning really matter. And, people sometimes have I don't think they truly understand sometimes the true mission of corrections. It's not just to lock people up and release them on that magical date that they can return to our communities. Our job is much more complex than that. Across the criminal justice perspective, we all have challenges. But, again, my goal is going to be to continue to push the initiatives that we have formed here in Tennessee and help our local partners and continue to move forward and make Tennessee a safer place.
And that's good words to hear. So we want to continue on with the task at hand. And I know there's lots of things and hurdles. There's issues with bail and probation and privatization of prisons and jails and services. And, I'm not sure where all of that's going to go, but, we want to be ahead of the curve. We want to make sure that we're more proactive than reactive, which has been, the policies in the past. And it is a mindset to change, because we still have people that say you just lock everybody up and throw away the key. And, when the sheriff and I took office, we had an over 82% recidivism rate. And that's just unacceptable as a cost-effective way of running a facility. And it's no way for a community to have to suffer through the problems associated with, destroying families and keeping people incarcerated and then throwing them back in jail once we let them out again. So we are building on that one day at a time, and that's what we do. That's how we change lives. by investing in people. So any follow-up words of encouragement you want to give us, Commissioner, before we sign off?
No, just once again, thank you for the job that you're doing there. I know, Senator Bolin, Representative Sherrill, and others that I've talked to about the work that's going on there. That's just great work. It's very, your vision of the future is very very good, and you're using good programs, thinking out of the box. I'm glad to hear you say, what you said about we can't build our way out of this issue, right? Building more prisons, more jails is not going to be the solution. It's not sustainable because you do look at those high recidivism numbers. And using evidence-based practices is really the key going forward with treatment options as well as criminal justice programs. What you've described this morning is spot on. And I know you'll see the benefits of that in the days to come. I would just again congratulate you for what you're doing for the citizens there in Warren County and the surrounding counties, and just continue the good work. It's great to be on air this morning and hear the good work that's going on there in your communities. Well,
thank you for your service to the great state of Tennessee, and tell the governor hello. I'm usually texting him or emailing his office nearly every day, so. We're proud of our successes, and improving leadership from the top all the way down does matter across this state. So we appreciate all that you've done, and the Department of Corrections moving forward with this criminal justice reform movement that is grasping every inch of what we do here, and we hope it spreads to other communities as well. So thank you, Commissioner, for joining us today.
Thank you, Julie.
As George Bush once said, America is the land of second choices, and when the gates of prison are open, the path ahead should lead to a better life. So with that being said, I want to welcome now Grant Swallows, our Director of Warren County Schools, to the podium to give us some updates on education across our county.
Thank you, County Executive Haley. I will be very quick today. I'm happy to report that we are back in school after a week away. I know kids are not as happy about that as I am, but at the end of the day, we had quite a week last week with snow. I hope everybody enjoyed a little bit of time away. I'm also thrilled to report that our numbers have drastically reduced as far as COVID-19 isolations and quarantines in our school system. As of today, we have 3 students that are isolated and 19 that are quarantined, and we have 0 cases among our staff and employees. So very pleased with that occurrence. I will also just do like I do every week and say, while we are pleased, we are still cautious. We are still following all the same regulations that we have, except that we are not I did announce a couple of weeks ago that we are not taking temperatures in the car line any longer. We're asking parents to make sure that you screen your students before you come or before you send them to school. That is based off the CDC recommendations that schools should no longer be actively or recurringly screening students at the beginning of school. So, but everything else is still in place. We still have a mask requirement. We still are asking students and teachers to distance as much as possible. That is the case in every event that goes on in our school system. We have a big basketball game here tonight at the Dalt between Warren County and White County for the district championship. We want that to be a great atmosphere and a great game, but we will still be observing all of the distancing rules, mask wearing rules, and third capacity rules in our gymnasium. So we want that to be a great night, but at the end of the day, we still have to follow all the same rules that we've followed all year long. As we move forward, I've been asked several times about what the outlook looks like, and again, we are cautiously optimistic. We are moving forward and hope to keep our students in school for the rest of the school year. We have also worked on next school year That school calendar should be approved at Thursday night's board meeting, and we'll be posting that so that everybody can see that and plan for next year. One of the things that will be spending significant amount of time on over the course of the next couple of weeks is talking about our summer programming plans. You will see that Warren County Schools will have a summer program definitely in the month of June, possibly into the month of July. That will be voluntary and open to all students, and more details will be given once we know a little bit more about that, but it will typically run school schedule day, and that will give us an opportunity to get students in that are potentially behind because of COVID-19 or some of the outages that we've had at school. We are looking forward to that opportunity to work with our students and help them throughout the summer. Again, thanks for your time. Thanks for all your support of our school system and our county. Have a great day. Thank you.
I want to thank all of our guests today for joining us on BLTV. Just to give a few more updates, my emergency orders are still in place. The face mask mandate is still in place. We're awaiting the governor's executive orders on extending those into the month of March, but we'll have to wait and see what the governor's decisions are. And even though our numbers are down, like Mr. Swallow said, let's not have a false sense of security. The numbers are down because what we've been doing is working. And why it's working is because all of you have cooperated and done what needed to be done. You're wearing the masks, you're using good personal hygiene, you're doing social distancing, you're trying to avoid those spreader events, and you are respecting the health and welfare of others. And that goes a long way. So keep up the good work. We've seen the effects, and moving forward, that's how we keep our schools open, that's how we keep our businesses thriving, and that's how we keep government services operating. And so other updates, the health department, Department of Health does have a new portal for signing up for the vaccines. So the vaccine rollout is continuing. And so you go online, it's on my webpage, but it's also vaccinate.tn.gov. I will say there are some scams out there. If people are contacting you or you're getting emails or text messages to click here or to make payment for a vaccine, vaccines are free through the health departments and the clinics. Please do not be taking advantage of this and fall victim to something that you do not need to fall victim to. And so people are wanting the vaccines, which is great. And so by going on that online portal, I signed up yesterday because I am now on the age where I can get them. And so my appointment came back in an email for Thursday. And so we're going to live stream that, I think, for me getting my shots. So we're encouraging each and every person to do that. I will make an announcement also that the Senior Center here in Warren County has been approved as a vaccination site on March 1st, starting at 8:30. They will have doses. Thanks to Graves Pharmacy, they'll be able to administer vaccines there. And so from Lana Whitlock, who is the director, she just wants to make sure that the Warren County Senior Center, that you got the word out that that's 809 Morrison Street across from Boyd Christian School, that will host this vaccination clinic on Monday, March 1st, starting at 8:30. And so those 65 and over, that are covered through phases 1 through 1B are eligible, including teachers. This is first dose only, and it is sponsored by Graves Pharmacy, who's done a remarkable job in coordinating this. U-Carts transportation will be available upon request. We do have some of those pass tickets for the transportation. But if you'll just please call the Senior Center Director, Lana Whitlock, at 931-473-6559. You can book an appointment through her, and she'll go online and take care of all the process. And so there's only 100 vaccines to distribute, so we're afraid they're going to go fast. So as soon as you can get a phone call in and get that scheduled, the sooner you'll get your vaccination. We don't know about the second dose and when that'll be announced, but we will. So please cooperate with the health department. No necessary reason to call them anymore about setting up appointments. They will call you, particularly if it's second dose. Testing still going on Monday through Friday, self-testing plus the administered tests on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we appreciate the efforts, and I will be recognizing the health department tonight at my county commission meeting for employee recognition and for a job well done over the course of the last couple of months trying to put these vaccinations in place. So we have done better than most counties, and it's because of the due diligence and the hard work of everyone at that health department, and of course, getting the support of Commissioner Piercy from the state health department. all the way down through the regional offices. A couple of things on schedules. Administrative offices on Locust Street are open now 5 days a week. Some of those offices are still doing by appointment, but if you'll call and get that information. The courthouse, some of the mandates on it have been lifted by Justice Bivens. So beginning in March, the courthouse will be open more to trials, and so we will be working around those schedules as well. For everything else, all essential government services, both across the city and the county, are up and running. We had to adjust some for weather last week, and so thank you for all being tolerant on some of our convenience centers being shut down and some of the services being limited. But we realize what a bad weather storm can do, and it bypassed the worst from us to other counties around us. So we want to continue to keep those people once again in our prayers. And so as far as finances are concerned for the county, we'll be beginning the budgeting process here soon. But the county finances, which I stated in my State of the County address, are sound at this point. And actually, we are actually better off than we were this time last year before the pandemic hit. And so we expect additional stimulus dollars to be coming to the schools and our operations, and some additional government grant dollars as well to invest in infrastructure and maintenance and buildings. But through cost cutting, government efficiency, spending only on our needs, doing priority budgeting, doing maintenance and repairs on our buildings, and investing in people, not failed policies, has done it for the county. I want to give a shout out to all of our employees. They have worked diligently through this pandemic. That's what's kept the services open. That's what has allowed us to function as a government across the last year. So I appreciate their hard work and effort moving forward. It's been almost a year since the pandemic hit us full swing. We've learned a lot about people over the course of the last few months. We know who's team players and who's not. But I'm an optimist. We're moving forward. We've got plans in place. We're going to hit the road running as soon as this pandemic is behind us. We have much progress to continue and many more things to accomplish as a community. So I want to thank our media outlets for dispersing all this information over the last year, sharing schedules and closures and pertinent information. Each and every media outlet is the best, but particularly while I'm standing here, BLTV. This broadcast has been extremely successful in distributing information. Many people share with me, comments that I've made or things that they have heard on this and have appreciated the information. But I do want to give a shout out to Ben Lomond CEO Lisa Cope, who is now going to be retiring. She has done an exceptional job over the last years. It's been great working with her as a team. She has stepped up to the challenge over the last year, from virtual learning to virtual meetings to everything that's had to go on, creating hotspots for our students. We wish her the best. And we also want to welcome Greg Smart as the new CEO of Ben Lomond, one of my former students, and I'm very proud of him and his success. And so the studio staff here at BLTV, Kelvin and Brian, and they've just been, and Karen, they've been really a godsend when it's coming to share this information. And so we appreciate that. So this live stream has been an important messenger, and we want to thank the community for your support over the over the months, over the last year. So I want to leave you with a quote from President John F. Kennedy. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest form of appreciation is not just to utter words, but to live by them. So thank you all for your support and cooperation, Warren County. All of us are here to serve. Proven leadership has mattered over the last year. During even some of the best of times and worst of times, we are moving forward. It is together that we build a better tomorrow for all of our residents. And our goal is to change lives one day at a time. So take care and be safe.